Hello, everyone, and welcome back to No Agenda, brought to you by Caesars Entertainment. I'm Sarah Solomon, and I am so excited to be in studio with a dear friend and colleague, Kristi Casale, who's the VP of Meetings and Continuing Education for the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry. And she is in Orlando for her annual meeting. So she's taking, all of you event organizers out there, she's taking her time to be here with me, and I'm very much appreciative of that because I know stress levels are high right now with your annual meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I am really thrilled to be here. When you asked me, actually, we were going to do this over the phone, but I was like, I'm going to be in Orlando. Why don't I pop by the studio and we can get to see each other face to face?
I know, it worked out perfectly. And funny story about Kristi and I, so we actually connected and worked together for the first time in May of 2020. And if you guys recall, that was like a hodgepodge of a hot mess for all of us in the industry. And we had about 6 weeks or so to turn her event into a virtual experience and somehow figured it out. And we're still friends and we still like each other. And that to me is a success story.
Yes. But also, I always love to tell people, like, we FaceTimed at the end of it and cried because we weren't going to get to see each other every day.
I know. So, yeah, it was a special time.
It was special. It was stressful, but it was all worth it because I just made a friend.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Now we're here, and part of our friendship, you know, we talk about real life and real talk around just the stress of being in this industry, the travel, the chaos of being away from home. Kristi has 2 small kids at home, 2 young boys, a husband. She's the VP, you know, within her association. So she's got a lot of various roles that she plays in addition to volunteering her time as the immediate past president of one of the largest PCMA chapters in Chicago. So leadership position within our industry, leadership position within her association, and of course, a leader at home as Mama Bear. So we're talking about mental health a lot on the show. And I know it's a lot for you to carry that weight of all of these different roles that you play to a lot of various people. So how do you do it all?
So the hard part is like, you're never going to be perfect at anything, really. I mean, when you've got this much going on, it's not always going to be super easy. It's not going to be no stress. Like it is difficult. But I'll say that, and this was my big platform when I was president, I have at the time he was 6 and 8-year-old. They're now 7 and 9, but you can make time for anything that you care about. And if you care enough about your industry, and, you know, all the time I hear people say, oh, shoot, I don't have time for that. And I'm like, but if I do, so do you. Because I make space in my life to make sure that I'm taking care of my children, to make sure I'm taking care of my marriage, to making sure that I'm doing a really great job in my office at my real full-time job. And then, you know, if you're passionate enough and you want to give your time back to something like this industry, you can make time and space for it. So I'm not saying that it's not stressful, but I did have to have, I was mentioning this earlier to you, that I had to have a tough conversation with my husband that, like, I can't continue to do it all in every space of my life. And I needed him. And I needed him to jump in and help in the parenting role with our children, because I was doing 99% of everything in the house. And not to say that I chose wrong partner, but he just didn't know how much I was actually doing until I asked for help. And so he's now the primary parent. He now does all of the lunches in the morning. He now cooks most of the dinners for the family, and he had to take that on, and he knew to support me in the times where I needed it, I needed to lean on him as a partner. And truly, that's how our relationship is continuing to work, and that's how it's been successful for me thus far.
I love that you said ask for help, because I think that's such a crucial, it's simple, but it's crucial piece of advice that a lot of us don't take, you know, to heart. I know I have a hard time saying, hey, I need more help in this area of my life or this area. And we all struggle with that. So that was huge of you to sit your husband down, especially when it comes to marriage and spouses, and, you know, because you don't know how your partner is going to receive that information, right? And it can come off a little offensive if they're like, what do you mean I'm not doing enough?
And also, even a harder part of that is if they actually follow through on it, and which I'm so grateful that he did, but it's truly, and you know, even in the board space, I came into the year and I started to do everything myself because it's just sort of my personality. And then we got 2 months into the year of my presidency, and I had to have a come to Jesus with all of these people and say, I need you all to take care of your own committees. I need you all to step up and do what you're on this board to do.
I don't know if you can relate to this, maybe you can, but we've been talking a lot about how event organizers are even more burdened now with inflation and cost of everything going up, and then working with limited budgets, and just like having to maneuver through the stress of the job itself as if it's not stressful enough, like becoming more stressful through the pandemic and now on the other side of it. How are you like working through that when it comes to your role within AAPD?
I think it's really important to make sure that we are valuing what we are giving back to our organizations and really making the case for, this is the probably in my space, like the association space, making sure that we are really communicating the value of our meetings and what they mean to our membership. So yes, things are costing more money, but we have to place more value on this diamond that we have, that all of our members are together for once a year. And this is what they truly place their membership benefit value on, is this 4 days of their life. So I think we as meeting planners, and again, putting more things on us, it is on us to talk about the value, because it's super important. We provide education, we provide networking opportunities, we provide spaces for people to have fun together, to connect. And you don't get that necessarily when you are behind a screen or when you are not working together or collaborating together. And we saw that a bit in COVID, and happy to have that in the rearview mirror. But I do think it's a really important story that we need to tell. And also, it's not always easy to get those butts in seats anymore. Like in some ways, some of these meetings, their attendance is dropping, their costs are rising, and it's a really hard space to try to meet in the middle and figure that out. And so that's another thing to put on our plate, is demonstrating that value.
Yeah, and I think, her and I were chatting earlier before we were doing this interview, and her attendance is up from, it's a record-breaking year from 2019, where they had their last record-breaking year. So that's a huge testament, I think, to what you're saying, right? Communicating the value of what you're doing, the fact that your meeting is the Super Bowl event for your industry in pediatric dentistry. And, not only communicating that value internally within your C-suite, but also with your members. Right. So speak to those event organizers who are struggling to get butts in seats, knowing that cost has risen, travel, the whole nine.
Yeah. So here's a couple of things that I just actually talked to the Capital chapter of PCMA on this, and we redesigned how we're telling our story. I think this plays a lot into what you do as a business, but we redesigned and just blasted out what we were previously doing in terms of telling the story of our meeting. And it now is, we can talk about our meeting for the entire year. And it started in COVID when we did this really cool play on the Alexander Hamilton song, and we changed the words to American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry. It's adorable. You should totally check it out. But we started there, and then we hired a video crew to come on site with us and capture everything, and capture the fun, capture the education, capture the people together having conversations, and then putting that all out throughout this, giving that FOMO of like having everybody kind of seeing what was going on, whether they were there or not. Really just leveling up in terms of our social media, all of the emails that were going out during the week of our meeting last year. And we saw an incredible rise in engagements and followers. And when I say incredible, I'm talking like 1,000% increase in engagements on our social during that time. And we've continued to obviously have followers, which to us, that's kind of transitioning into this attendance thing, right? Because everybody's like, oh my gosh, they have such this like cool thing going on. Like, I really want to be a part of this. So I think it's really important to like look at how you're telling the story of your meeting. And that's what I'm saying, is like the value. We're like demonstrating the value not only to our C-suite, but now we have these members who are pediatric dentists who like don't want to miss this.
One other thing that I would be remiss not to mention is that Kristi also is a Visionary Award recipient for PCMA this past year. And this goes to show you just like what hard work, and what I love about you, Kristi, is like your open communication. Like, you ask for help, you are okay with being vulnerable with people, and that shows and displays in like the work that you are able to accomplish in all of these different roles that you play. So leading to that recognition from your peers. And I think that's an important factor too, right? Is like, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
So tell us the award itself, like the name of the award that you received, and just what that felt like to be recognized.
Yeah. So I actually was a finalist for 2 awards this year. So the Business Event Strategist of the Year and the Event Designer of the Year. And side note, I'm the only person in history that has ever been a finalist in 2 categories. So that was like incredibly awesome, but it was also so stressful because I was walking into that room and I was like, what if I lose both? Like, it's one thing to lose one, but like, what if I lose both? I was physically holding my husband's arm, just shaking when luckily it was the first award to go, but I did win the Business Event Strategist of the Year. Obviously thrilled about that. I was shaking, crying, all the things when I was accepting the award. I don't even know how to describe. I feel like it's like the Academy Awards of like, our industry. So it felt really, really good to have accomplished that and to be recognized by my peers, because I think all this other stuff that we just talked about, you've got like kids, like it's thankless in a way that like, you'll give your child something and then they'll be like, you suck. Or like, just being kids. All these things are pretty like thankless. Even like volunteerism can be thankless at times. And so it really did make me feel like being recognized by my peers, because somebody told me at one point that peer recognition is the greatest thing you will ever achieve in your career at this point, because you can earn all the sales trips and earn all this or that. But like peer recognition is like really ultimately like the most awesome thing that you can achieve. And for me, like I feel like, where do I go now?
When we kind of bring it back to like that mental health piece and everyone having so much on their plates, it's really nice as an employer or as a volunteer leader or whatever, to stop, pause, and recognize people and say, you know what, I really appreciate you and you're doing a great job, and that kind of recognition, it's so simple, but it can really change and alter the way that someone's stress level is. Thanks again, Kristi. Congratulations to you and all of your accomplishments.
Thank you. It was awesome to be here, and I'm so glad I got to see you again. So
Yay. Awesome. Well, that does it for us on this segment. We've got more to come on No Agenda.
Hi guys, it's Gordon here. Please come and check out my newest restaurant, Ramsays Kitchen at Harrah's, Las Vegas. The good news is we're open for lunch and dinner, and it's just a short walk from Caesars Forum. You can expect some of my favorite dishes, but with that amazing Vegas twist. Can't wait to see you.
In the last episode, you got to hear from keynote speaker and mindfulness expert Pandit Dasa, and we've brought him back to speak about mindful leadership. Listen in as Pandit shares some great examples of strong leaders and how they create a positive, mindful workplace culture.
So what does mindful leadership really mean, right? It means how are we showing up for our organization and for our employees? A leader isn't just meant to be showing up and being extremely productive. That's very important, but also how are we showing up mentally and emotionally? Right? Are we encouraging everyone to engage in work-life balance, or are we not? And are we encouraging others, but we're not doing it ourselves? So one of the key aspects of mindful leadership is to lead by example, not just in terms of how productive we are, but also how we're showing up in terms of our physical, mental, and emotional health. There's actually 2 examples that I like in terms of mindful leadership. One is Gandhi and one is Martin Luther King Jr. They both did the difficult tasks. They both led the marches for freedom. They just didn't let other people do the difficult tasks and sit behind a desk. There's a great example of one leader who was very accessible, very down to earth, and very humble, and extremely successful. He's one of the former CEOs of Japan Airlines. Now, what was unique and interesting about him is that he was very down to earth. He would take public transportation to work. He would ride the bus into work. He's a CEO of a major airline. And he wouldn't sit in his office. He would sit in an open space with all of his colleagues. So his colleagues felt comfortable coming up to him, talking to him, sharing ideas, whatever it was. And whenever it was time for lunch, he would get his own lunch in the company cafeteria. And you could see him walking into airplanes and talking to the flight attendants. He was just available and accessible and very easy to talk to. And it's explained that one time when the company wasn't doing so well and he had to give pay cuts to a lot of his employees, He gave himself a pay cut as well. As a leader, showing that, hey, we're sharing the rewards and we also share the sacrifices. Another great example of mindful leadership is Carla Overbeck. She was the team captain for the US soccer team that won the 1996 gold and the 1999 World Cup. She was a team captain, but she wasn't the highest scorer on the team. But what she did was something unique. When they would travel, she would carry the bags of her teammates to their hotels, to the car. She wanted to show that even though I'm your team captain, I'm actually serving you. So she demonstrated what it means to be a servant leader. So I think one important thing we can ask ourselves is, as a leader, what am I doing to serve the folks that I'm leading? How accessible am I? How comfortable are they approaching me to talk to me about concerns or problems or opinions that they have? Am I in the mood of servant leadership or not? And if not, what can I do more of to become that servant leader? Another important aspect of having a healthy and positive workplace culture is making sure that on a regular basis, we are appreciating the contributions of our colleagues, our direct reports, and our peers. That is very important. I think we can all remember a time when we put our heart and soul into some project, and at the end of it, no one thanked us, no one appreciated us, and that is so incredibly deflating. It's demotivating, it's discouraging, it's uninspiring, and there's no way that we'll want to put that much effort into the next project. And that's the kind of culture that creates this whole phenomenon of quiet quitting, where people are doing the bare minimum, where they could be doing so much more. A big reason is they're not appreciated, they're not valued. There's an interesting research done by Wharton Business School. When they were doing their fundraising calls, they decided to divide up the fundraising team into two. The first team made calls like they normally would. The second team received a call of appreciating the work that they're about to do from their supervisor. The second team that received that call made 50% more fundraising calls than the first group, simply because they were appreciated. A massive component of mindful leadership is communicating mindfully. What does that mean, right? We've all been at the receiving end of negative communication at some point or another, and we know how it feels. 4 things to think of when we think of mindful communication. One is, know what you're saying. Make sure your message is clear, right? Think about how you're going to say that message. What's your body language going to be like? What's your tone going to be like? And if it's an email, what's the tone of that email? Is it going to be misunderstood by the other person? Another powerful way of practicing empathy is when we're listening to someone else speak, when they're trying to communicate a message or a point or a concern, really listening to understand and not to respond. So when someone is speaking and you're starting to come up with a response, press pause in your mind. Just stop your mind from coming up with that response and fully give your full mind, full attention to that individual. And when they feel understood and they feel heard, they'll most likely give you the same level of respect, and that is what's called healthy and mindful communication. So mindfulness is not limited to sitting and meditating. Right? We can definitely sit and meditate, and as I've mentioned before, mindfulness can be practiced in a secular way through a variety of breathing and focusing exercises. Mindfulness, mindful leadership, and workplace culture all go hand in hand. And whether we are leaders or not, these are practices that we can implement into our life at any given situation. And all of these practices can also translate into our personal life. Communicating better with our family and friends, appreciating our family and friends. Those who are closest to us are the ones that we neglect the most often. Unfortunately, we take them for granted. So I want to thank you all very much, and I really hope that you're able to implement some of these simple practices of mindfulness into your workplace culture, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Pandit. So many great tips to consider in helping us to be more mindful of one another. As we kick off the month of June, we want to remind you about the Caesars Entertainment Global Wellness Challenge, which kicks off on June 9th. No Agenda got to catch up with the company behind the custom wellness experience, Heka Health. Based in Silicon Valley, Heka Health powers turnkey, custom branded wellness experiences and gamified challenges that enable event professionals to support the well-being of their communities during both event and non-event periods. Anthony Salah joins us now to tell us about their longtime partnership with Caesars Entertainment.
Feel a huge amount of privilege of being able to partner and collaborate with Caesars Entertainment. It's been over 6 years. And really been focused on bringing wellness experiences to support the well-being of members of the event industry community. So with the partnership with Caesars, we have brought gamified wellness challenges to event industry programs with PCMA, MPI, IMEX, ASAE, Conference Direct, SEMA, and others in live, virtual, and hybrid formats. And as your audience knows all too well, there are wonderful things about being part of the event industry, but it can be very stressful, as I think folks know, and can have a negative impact on your personal well-being if folks are not actively focused on their own self-care. And that was especially true during the pandemic. And what we love working with Caesars on these programs is it really has all started with our shared desire to support the well-being of this event community.
As we gear up for the upcoming Caesars Entertainment Challenge, can you tell us about how the app works?
The app works very simply. All our challenge programs are custom tailored to meet specific well-being objectives of the initiative, but they're all very easy and similar in terms of how it works. You download the challenge app and register in it, and then really you start engaging in various well-being activities, and that can be for the mind. So we do, and again, all these are customized for different programs, but for the mind, we have things like gratitude journaling or meditation. For the body, it's walking or running, which we have integration with most of all the activity trackers out there, or you can do yoga or nutrition education, and things that we kind of categorize under the soul, connecting socially, fundraising, being part of a team. So all these are, again, custom tailored and sort of integrated based on the needs of that program. These activities are all integrated within the app, or actually we have a way of having, if there's an in-person yoga session, that can also be incorporated. And really, once the challenge starts, participants gain points for engaging in these various well-being activities. And we set up goals for them, target goals for them to hit, and they have chances to win some great prizes. And it's really, overall, just an engaging, easy, but motivating way to participate in some healthy fun.
Anthony, thank you so much. You'll see the link on the bottom of your screen to join the challenge yourself. Now, let's keep the conversation around wellness going as Sarah chats with another event professional about environmental wellness.
Thank you, Courtney. Sustainability is often a topic looped into the wellness discussion, and now more than ever, event organizers are finding creative ways to design sustainable in-person experiences. Joining me now is Rachael Riggs with Maritz Global Events. Rachael, tell us about your role within Maritz.
I work with our clients in helping them design their sustainability, as well as working with our internal teams to work on our own sustainability for Maritz Global Events. So I am responsible for measuring the carbon footprint of our own company, as well as all of our events. And then we work with clients to measure carbon footprint of events too. We did 3 research studies and I came in with a model of 5 dimensions of well-being. And we design around those 5 dimensions, which are personal, social, financial, career, and environmental. And so when we design with the 5 dimensions of well-being in mind with our clients, we ask them to look at those 5 dimensions. You can concentrate on 5 in the design, you can concentrate on one, or you can concentrate on any of the 5. The first thing I would tell people to think about is really to look at the attendee profile, understand the audience, understand who you're planning for. Is it a corporate group, and what's their demographics, and what's their group dynamic? That's really important too. What is the goal of their meeting, and what is their outcome, and what are they trying to achieve? Is it an incentive? Is it corporate sales meeting, or on the association and live event side of things? Is it a trade show that you want people to conduct business at the trade show floor? Understanding how that attendee works and all the attendee profiles, all the different personas that are a part of your event, and really looking at that and what do they want.
Rachael, what resources are available to event organizers when it comes to sustainability?
I sit on the Events Industry Council. A lot of our team are working on ways to help certify the industry in sustainable event professional certificates, as well as the EIC has sustainable event standards that are really great for planners to use, and toolkits that we have. We created with ICE Hub out of the UK, we created an action 10 list for 10 things to do at an event if you're a planner, and how to do them good, better, and best. Net zero carbon events. I sit on the standards of measurement working group. There are a lot of carbon footprint measurement tools out there, including Maritz has one, and there's over 40 plus tools that we're vetting already, and there's not a standard of measurement. So we've come up with a standard of measurement that we're having the industry accept as the standard of measurement, which is important because carbon accounting is something that is happening very fast and furious in the corporate world. And we have a ton of clients that are coming to us saying, we need to measure the carbon footprint of our event. So we have a tool that we work with our clients to measure the carbon footprint. And we have to have that standard of measurement because we need to be able to say across the board that this is the carbon accounting for an event. Executive salaries are being tied to those carbon footprint measurements and their reduction strategies.
And now you're joining us from IMEX Frankfurt. So what is your current focus point while you're there?
We are at IMEX Frankfurt, and we are here in our booth. And in our booth, we have an innovation lab. And we are taking on several different topics and gathering feedback from the guests that are here at IMEX, and understanding, are they interested in the metaverse, Web 3.0? Are they interested in NFTs? And we're applying that to the event space. We did an NFT or a well-being challenge that we did internally recently, and we gave away the NFT. And that was the prize. Is that kind of something that we can parlay and put into the event space on trade shows? And so we're testing that out. We're also doing all kinds of discovery on sustainability. How are they making commitments in terms of sustainability? So we're gathering all that data, and we'll have that data live from the trade show floor, which will be super valuable in how we design content future forward. So there's a lot that's happening at IMEX Frankfurt around what's next. So I'm super excited about that. And so we will be reporting out on it as well.
Rachael, thank you so much for that input. And we'll have to follow up with you on the Innovation Lab following IMEX Frankfurt. Now we turn it over to our very own Raisa Pascal, who joins us for another segment of Events Express as she explores more unique venues in Las Vegas.
Welcome to Events Express. I'm Raisa Pascal. We are here at Brooklyn Bowl, Las Vegas, located on the Link Promenade. Now, this is an absolutely incredible venue to host your events from, but don't take my word for it. We're going to hear from Jessica Hernandez with Brooklyn Bowl to learn some of the many unique ways you can utilize this space.
Brooklyn Bowl, Las Vegas is 80,000 square feet. We can host up to 3,000 people for a corporate event and $2,350 for a public concert. A lot of people think of us as just a bowling alley. When you walk in the doors and you see the sparkly Brooklyn Bowl sign up at the top of the escalator, you really don't know what's up there until you take the full venue tour. We've transformed the space so many different ways, from branding moments. We can start at the base of the stairs and we can do floor clings up to the top. We have the concert poster box, lots of digital opportunities, digital branding. Everyone likes to see their name in lights, and we can do that here at Brooklyn Bowl. Our space is completely transformable. We've done weddings and then followed by a full concert style fun reception. We've turned our VIP couches into lounge experiences during shows and even during private events to create more of an intimate feel. And then as we head upstairs to our upper floor, we do have the PDR, we call it the Rockstar Room. We can turn that into a cigar lounge, whiskey tasting, lots of cool elements there. Our L Bar is a quieter area, but we've also done tarot card reading. Our restaurant, we've done customized cocktail experiences. We've done, VIP concert experiences with our bowling. So some people might be watching the show and then the other guests will be bowling. Same thing for corporate private events. Bowling just kind of lives in the space. It's just an additional activity while there's so much more to do in the space.
That does it for us on this episode of No Agenda. Tune in to the next episode as we share essential branding tips and some creative sponsorship opportunities.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's a last look at a message from our show sponsor, Caesars Entertainment.